Yeah, so it's not copying and pasting. This actually leads to one of the things in the book. There's don't repeat yourself. This is Hunt and Thomas wrote just around the same time as Agile development. Every piece of knowledge must have a single, unambiguous, authoritative representation of the system. And what they call dry is don't repeat yourself. You don't want to find this in lots of places. And why? You want to have one place so that if you change it, it changes everywhere. So obviously, nobody would copy and paste code. The high-level language does all kinds of things. You know, it does synthesis, it generates code. But probably the main thing is that it raises the level of abstraction rather than it does help with reuse, but something like that. All right. Hold on. Unfortunately, that's my wife. She doesn't realize I'm still teaching here. I'm working late. Okay. And so you refactor your code so keep it dry. And you'll see dry. You'll hear us talk about dry code a lot. Okay. Next up, software as a service. Okay, this is one of the big reasons that Armando and I did the course. The research project that we were involved in was in cloud computing and software as a service. That rather than having your own washing machine, you could just rent it when you need it. So traditional software, shrink-wrap software, is this binary code that is installed and runs wholly in the client device. What does software as a service mean? You deliver the software and data as a service over the internet via a thin program, typically the browser, running on a client device. You know, the cell phone that I just tried to answer, you know, that's typically the client today. The so-called post-PC era, you have the mobile device and the cloud that things are in. And examples are search, social networking, YouTube videos, examples of that. Now, software as a service is such a powerful force that shrink-wrap software has to have versions now that are SaaS versions of it. So Microsoft Office, the productivity tools like Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and so forth. There's a Microsoft Office 365 every day of the year. That means you can use that without having it on your computer. Similarly, TurboTax, if you guys haven't started paying taxes yet, TurboTax is a very popular program. Rather than everybody have to buy the software and install it themselves, you just go online and use the service. So Armand and I think that this is one of the revolutionary things that's happening. In this decade, software is increasingly going from shrink-wrap software to software as a service, and the companies who are going to be leading the industry may be very different at the end of the decade than at the beginning of it. So why is it so popular? Why do people like SaaS? Well, from the user perspective, you don't have to worry whether you got the right hardware or the right version of the operating system, right? Especially with the browser, it's pretty easy to install. You don't have to worry about data loss. The data is in the cloud. If you forgot, am I backing up my laptop? Oops, I forgot to do that. It's okay, it's in the cloud. I lost my cell phone. That's okay, the data is in the cloud. If you're sharing a lot of data, makes more sense for that all to be in the cloud, then everybody's got their own version of it running on their laptop. The cloud's a natural place to do it, so SaaS is a good software for that. If the data is gigantic or changes all the time, it'd be a hassle for you to keep a copy yourself, so just keep it one central place. That's another reason. From the developer's perspective, it's really wonderful, and you'll see this, is there's only one copy of the software in the whole world, and you get to pick the hardware and operating system environment it runs in. You get to control that. So there's no compatibility hassles for developers. Now, the client piece of it and dealing with browsers, there's a lot of variety in browsers, there's a hassle with that, but the server piece is no hassles. As a result of that, because there's only one copy of the software in a controlled hardware environment, SaaS software changes a lot more quickly. And so it makes it easier for developers to upgrade it, but also it makes it easier for users. When it seems to me every time I turn on my computer, some piece of software is asking me if it's okay to upgrade it, right? I can't get any work done because I'm continuously upgrading software that needs to be, you know, it seems like Adobe's business model is 7.0.3.4, you want 7.0.3.5. Don't bother me. So with SaaS, you don't get any of that stuff. So the excitement about software evolving in a way that makes it easier to teach is Agile fits right in there. Frequent upgrades, that's easy to do because there's only one environment. That's the Agile lifecycle, right? Every 2 weeks, you could add new features. And for those of you who don't think real software as a service companies do that, it used to be the the leading search engine used to be Alta Vista. Google came along with lots more frequent upgrades and replaced that. The leading social networking service used to be MySpace, before Facebook. So they really do compete on features, and those who don't keep up fall behind. There's lots of Agile in SaaS is very popular. The book lists half a dozen. I'm sure there's dozens of environments. But we've picked Ruby on Rails, which gets called Rails, because we think it's by far the best environment. It's the most productive environment. You'll get more work done more quickly in that environment. Ruby is, which we'll see beginning next week, is this modern programming language. It has object-oriented, functional, automatic memory management, dynamic types, this reuse via mixins, and synthesis via metaprogramming. It's got all that in there. And that's why the inventor of Rails picked it. Right? He wanted to pick a good language. Ruby, at the time he picked it, was an artistic success but didn't have much following. He built Rails in Ruby, and that's helped both Rails and Popular. In this quick development model, Twitter in its first many years was all done in Ruby. Pieces that have been replaced. So a question that we get for teaching this class, and kind of a concern for us, was why, if we're learning software as a service, why do we have to learn Ruby and Rails? And so in thinking about it from our perspective, you got 10 weeks, and this is what you got to learn here, right? SaaS, Agile, pair programming, and we did all that stuff, and then they said, you got to talk about legacy, oh my God, and Scrum. So we got all these things that you really do need to learn in 10 weeks. And not only you guys, who are largely juniors and seniors, this isn't the only class you're taking, right? So if you divide, say it's 50 weeks over 14-week semester, you've got like 3 weeks full time to work on this. Well, what about the people in the MOOC? They don't have anything to do. They're not taking all these classes. Almost everybody in the MOOC has a full-time job. So we had to figure out a way that kind of, in 3 weeks full-time, you could learn all these big ideas, and the only way we can imagine doing that is a really highly productive framework. So we think it's worth it to take the time to learn this new language and learn this new system, because you're going to use it for the rest of the 10 weeks, and you're going to get the payback for the investment. And we wrote this all up in a paper on that. So why are we doing that? Well, why do I have to learn, if I want to do SaaS and Agile, why do I have to learn this? Because, first of all, we think if you wanted to become a software engineer, learning new tools and languages shouldn't be this scary idea. Oh yeah, I can know how to do that. And we think it'll save you time in this class for you to do that. Okay, what is one next and last one of these? So Google has all of these software as a services. Which is the weakest argument for the app's popularity? I gave you these 6 reasons. So for Gmail, don't lose, this is your judgment, right? Don't lose data for Gmail. What do you think about that versus cooperating groups and their documents? Large changing data sets in YouTube. No field upgrade when improve a service in search. So which of these is the weakest argument there for doing these things as a software as a service? This one is surely a subject of opinion here.